All right, Mekone turned 65. I believe I forgot to talk about the Spectre that we got. We got the lucky roll. We'll take a look at him. But we got the Astral, the Earth Astral guy specifically. I think it depends on your nation, but it's definitely one of the better cross paths that you can get out of Spectres. And then we're empowering him in Astral because we have pretty good battle magic access to Astral, right, via our Lizard Shaman communions, although limited, obviously, since we can only get them out of one province. But in terms of actually climbing up and doing things, ritual spells and forging in Astral, we're pretty limited, right? It's just Astral 1. We could have empowered a shaman, definitely, and that had crossed my mind. We have, quite a few pearls. Going from level 1 to 2 is not too bad. It's 30 gems, so it's expensive, but not crazy expensive. I think the Spectre is a bit of a better target just because he's harder to kill, right? He's undead, so he's not going to age out. He has more hit points, so if a nuke spell happens, Armageddon, there's a bunch of things that could happen. He's just a more survivable chassis. So if you're gonna throw a bunch of gems into them, you want a survivable chassis. Ideally, you want an immortal chassis, but we don't have that. So anyway, that's our Astral 2 guy. So he'll start, forging us some more Astral gear that'll allow us to have some commanders that are greater than just Astral 1. And then a Dire Portent, always good news. This one isn't too bad. Atlantis has Eyes of Gods, so you can just see quite a bit. I forget. I think there's some additional effects as well. I'll have to look it up, but it's not too bad for us. But he does get to see a lot of what's going on in the game now. And then I think we miss with most, if not all of these. These arcane probings. We're bringing another Spectre in. Since we got lucky on the other one, rolling the dice again, and then just some regular site searching that also missed. We had really bad luck in terms of searching, and then this kind of spoils this, but this does work out. I mean, these are two fully and heavily kitted Polemarchs, I guess. This is two-handed, fully kitted. Lifelong protections on both of them. This is a good stack of barbarians, right? So, a little bit scary, but this is definitely overkill. Just wanted to make sure that these guys could actually do the trick, and they can, right? So I think we might have missed with that. No, we didn't. Because the copper plate, unfortunately, normally the protection on these guys is really good, but we've talked about that encumbrance problems, and there's a lot of lightning. There's a magma eruption, right? And we've talked about it before. I think we've seen it a few times. Very effective spell. And then this guy does. It looked like he took some damage, but I don't think he did. His skills are pretty good, right? High defense is going to help a lot, and of course the vine shield. And then he has all the imps for cover. Some flame eruption. Imps actually, I think, do decently well considering because, they're really fire resistant. So, blasting out a bunch of fire magic, with imps as your chaff kind of works out, which is just accidental. I wish I could say I'd planned that, but, happy accident. I think, these guys are going to be pretty nasty, for a lot of different threats. The main thing is they don't have a lot of magic resistance, I don't think. And there are things we can do about, they have pretty miserable magic resistance, considering how much investment we've put into them. The other big problem, potentially, right, this guy not yet, but we can see this guy has been horror marked, and that's just a function of, if you have a lifelong protection, right, it's tainted, you're going to get horror marked. But the good news is, this guy's going to be relatively tough to assassinate, probably even for horrors. I don't know, we'll see. Not impossible, definitely. So I think the first couple rounds of horrors shouldn't be too bad, but horrors usually horror mark you, so it's sort of a, once you get horror marked, it kind of, I don't want to say always ends in death, but usually ends in death eventually, assuming the game goes on long enough. And then we got a battle between Mechaka and Calum. Not sure what happened here. I don't think these two were ever fighting a lot. In fact, Mechaka might even be AI at this point, although this definitely doesn't look like an AI attack, because this is holy moly. Almost all mages, and this is his pretender, kind of a cool monster chassis pretender. I think this is the reason. I think it was like Sarmatia. Somebody died really early. This game is just PD. So this looks like Horde of Skeleton spam. But anyway, yeah, someone died really, really early this game, and I believe this was the cause. And like having something like this, run at you, turn 5, turn 4 or something, turn 6. That's tough to deal with, definitely. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty scary army. Certainly there's ways to deal with it, but yeah, it's just very heavy in terms of mage commitment. Not sure what's going on there. It's not in their capital. It's not in Menchaca. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, obviously, like Caelim's province defense is not going to be able to handle that. And then, demons. This is nice luck. That's a very nice event. And then this could potentially mean there's a site nearby here. I don't think I chased this one down, but we do like the fire gems, and we don't mind the heat. And then, yeah, this is where the demons are manifesting. I think both of our mages that are here are site searching, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, they're both on retreat, so like they peace out immediately, which is probably good. Yeah, so they both retreated successfully. So that's the advantage of like putting your site searchers on retreat. They might have been able. This isn't a ton of spine devils, so like maybe they could have beaten it. But this way, they're safe, right? Sometimes it's a lot of spine devils, and then yeah, what are we up to? So yeah, this is going to be a quieter couple of turns. So we're just bringing this group back home. Arcocephalia has jumped on top and cracked the fortification, so we'll probably be seeing a storm here soon. We're sending forces back in to try to deal with these spine devils. We're actually going to use our site searchers. This is the other thing you can do with mages that are site searching, right? Obviously have them, cast spells and support whoever gets attacked. A little risky, but I think, probably will work out fine. This isn't a ton of peltasts, but I don't think spine devils have that much protection. And then, hopefully the spell casting will be enough to turn them around. And then we are also snatching a neutral province on our border. I believe this was Caelim's, and this is kind of a gray area, I would say, right? Like our nap is in the ending phase, and I would not do this, but this has been independent a long time, and obviously not super friendly with Caelim in general. So, it's like if you're going to leave it independent this long, and, we have our like squad here who's, designed to take out these kind of provinces, we're going to grab it. So we're doing that. And then a lot of these movements, like some of it's site searching, right? Here's, our air site search did not find that site, of course. So we're bringing some guys in to patrol that out. And then a lot of this movement is just bringing forward, right, these small peltast kind of raiding groups that we'll use, along with like some assassins who we will probably start to kit out and, sprinkle both through our own lands and then, start to infiltrate them up into Caelim's lands. But yeah, like expecting some heavy raiding pressure from Caelim, right? The birds raid pretty well, so we will definitely need to like move stuff out into our own territory to, turn raids around. So yeah, and then of course site searching always. We're also transferring over, kind of secondary army. So we're going to be looking at running at least 2, ideally 3 armies. I'm trying to get away from doom stacking. Not that sometimes doom stacking, absolutely like the thing you need to do in the right play. But it comes with a lot of downsides, right? You take very little territory, and it's also very risky, right? You put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, and he gets hit with like a particular counter, and then like that's it. So at least if you lose a smaller army and it gets hit with like a particular counter, you're like, oh, okay, right? You have a secondary force that you can adjust, to make sure that it doesn't get taken out by the same counter. And you get to take more territories. So we're going to have one army moving out from Hinnom, and we're going to try to mass another army up here in Cormark. Ideally, we would have another army up here in Bycliffe, kind of aimed at like this fort, and then probably like this palisade here, and then maybe this fort, or possibly Caelim itself, depending on how things go. But yeah, still working on that. To that end, our recruitment, right? Peltas for the raiding and getting some more Gigantes to fill out that other force. Archons, of course, mostly Archons, I think, at this point, and like more researchers down here. I mean, our gold situation is better, but still not fantastic. And we do just kind of need like more mages, especially to hold like research items. I think we've managed. Now we still have some lizard shamans holding the lightless lanterns, right? And this is not great because these guys are pretty valuable to us, so we really don't want them to get horror marked and then eaten by horrors. So yeah, we do still need like some kind of lame researcher mages. And then, yeah, just more human hoplites. We are going to need numbers. This is kind of rough. Not sure what happened here. I mean, polemarchs and cyclopses are really expensive. So, I mean, it's like on the one hand, you always want your capital recruiting, your really sexy capital mages. On the other hand, like you really can quickly bankrupt yourself that way. And we do need scouts as like gem carriers. And anyway, yeah, it just always hurts me seeing this. Yeah, and then, but yeah, like I was saying, we just kind of need some mass against the birds, right? Birds tend to not be great fighters, but especially at least like Calum can produce a lot of Spirehorn warriors, and because they can fly, they can jump in, and like if they outnumber you, then they quickly surround you, and it just gets ugly. It gets really bad. They also have a lance strike, right? So the more units you have, the more cheap, replaceable units you have that can absorb the lance strikes is nice. So I feel like against birds, like you really kind of want to bring a lot of numbers. You do not want to be outnumbered by the birds. You want to outnumber the birds if possible, even if a lot of it's garbage. I mean, you do need some stuff that's going to do some killing, of course, but a lot of it can be garbage, and that's somewhat what the Helit hoplites are for, although they'll be pretty decent, I think, because they have the high protection, which birds can struggle with, not having super high strength. So they're kind of nice because they fill both roles of being able to provide more mass. They're not easily replaceable, unfortunately, but they're cheap to maintain. So if we can build up a force of them, before the war starts and then maintain recruitment, it might be okay. And then they'll also be decent at like killing birds and surviving land strikes. But to the end of getting some more mass, we're starting corpse man construction just because we can. Like, we have air gems. It's really cheap. It's just one air gem, and I think you get 6. And I think you can increase this even more, possibly with like an artifact or some other items. But anyway, 6 units for one air gem is, a pretty good ratio. Obviously against Calum, one of the main advantages of corpse constructs is this overcharge, right? So they're going to deal shock damage. A lot of Calum's troops have built-in shock resistance. So, it's not super efficient. It is nice that these guys have a bunch of shock resistance, right? Because Calum's obviously going to be doing, a lot of Thunderstrike. Wrathful Skies is, something we're worried about. And these guys will survive that, much better than most other chaff. So yeah, we're starting up construction of these guys, and on the Spectre department, right, here's our fellow who we empowered in Astral, and he's forging us Starshine Skullcap, right, to keep pushing us up into Astral. And then here's our other Spectre, not so great. These split paths are they're okay. This guy's going to be a decent raider, right? Earth and water are solid raiding paths, and a Spectre is a decent raiding chassis, stealthy, which is cool. It's just he costs 22 death gems, so in that sense he's not such a great raider. He's an expensive raider. We are also contacting Lamia Queens. Who I think Lamia Queens are great mages. They tend to be high death. They're away into blood. They get a couple cool cross paths, and they're not too expensive. I mean, they're 25 nature gems, right? So we can't go crazy with them. But it would be nice to have some more death casters, higher level death casters, and some blood casters. So we're bringing in a Lamia. Various gear. I'm not really going to go over the gear right now. Maybe take a look at it, closer to the start of the war. So yeah, I think that more or less covers it for turn 65. All right, Mekone, turn 66. And you always know when it's fall when you're playing Mekone and you have a ton of extra unexpected events, because that means that it is time to slaughter a bunch of Helits. So we'll see how that went. We finished research in Alteration 7, which gets us some cool stuff. We do, Fog Warriors, Mass Protection is probably what we're going to be looking at, and a few other things. And, we want to continue climbing Alteration in a bit. We're doing Thaumaturgy next, which we'll hopefully talk about later. We'll see if I remember. And then, yeah, we miss a lot. You can really see, like, a lot of these searches are trying to search, we have, like, maybe level 1 searches or level 2 searches, or it's land that we've captured, like, in, around Hinnom, and maybe, like, from TNN a little bit. So we're kind of searching land that's already been searched, at a higher level, or, maybe searched by somebody else, so we're not 100% sure if they've found everything. And so far, like, you can see I don't know. You can see that the return on investment is not great. Not convinced that it's the best idea. And then, yeah, we caught some battles. I think, and we had a few battles of our own. So this one is decently interesting. We saw a lot of this force, although it's kind of been reinforced by some of M'Chaka's sacreds and, kind of just some other garbage. But yeah, mostly, the guys that are just making skeletons, and they are up against a Rusian force. And it's mostly just their sacreds. Skin shifters. A lot of skin shifters. He does have a few, I think these are, okay, thugged out, like cap-only mages. Horror helmet, nice. Fear is always good. Earth boots. He doesn't have any paths in earth. So hopefully that's something, that this commander just picked up. And then this guy's rocking the double frost brand, which is good. I think, for guys that are integrated, thugs that are integrated in armies, you want them more killy. So yeah, a lot of kitting there, nothing too crazy. So we've got Howl, it looks like, from M'Chaka, which, yeah, you can see right away. So this is something to consider. Okay, that's Strength of Giants. It looks like they are moving forward now, but I think these skin shifters, holy moly. Wow. Okay, so, this is a ton of, is this Creeping Doom or Swarm? It looks like at least some Swarm. Hard to say. A lot of bugs. All the bugs. I mean, this is a lot of mages. So this is like all the chaff versus like some really killy sacreds. So kind of an interesting battle. But anyway, in regards to Howl, like attack closest can really mess you up. Because, then you guys run off and like fight wolves. So sometimes, especially if you're up against a nature power and you're expecting some Howl, attack rear can be really helpful. Because in that way, your guys won't get as distracted by the wolves. So let's see. We have like there's some falling fires. I think that's coming from M'Chaka. And it's doing, decent work. No fire resistance on Russ's Bless. Strong Bless, definitely. And these are strong sacreds, but you can see some of them, a lot of them have already gone into bear form. This is just so much chaff. These guys they do have poison resistance, so that's going to help against the bugs, but I mean, it's just so much stuff. Wow. I like to, summon bugs and such, but I don't know if I've ever summoned them in quite this quantity. And then a bunch of sleep clouds going down, probably also from M'Chaka. You can kind of see the difference. Like, Russ's army is much, much stronger, right? And just in terms of, like, what was brought to the table in terms of units. But I mean, M'Chaka, like, brought so many more mages. And then, mass protection. Nice. And there was a late mass protection, too, from M'Chaka. And the cool thing about that, probably planned, or maybe somebody just had some extra magic, or some extra nature gems, right? And, a mage went off script and decided to do it. But possibly it was scripted in the last slot. And the cool thing about that is it's going to hit all the chaff, right, that's already been created. So now, like, these the skeletons got like 19 protection, right? It doesn't normally have 19 protection. All the bugs have a bunch more protection than normal. So yeah, sometimes scripting like army-wide buffs when you're planning on summoning a bunch of units. If you script the buffs late, then your summoned units get it as well. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, I think Russ is screwed here. Like, there's just too much stuff. Like, they are killing a lot, right? You can see the horde of bugs. Yeah, Shockwave is really good. That's probably coming from one of his casters. But yeah, I think that's a full route probably for Russ, except, of course, yeah, these are berserkers. So some of them, have gone berserk. So they will not retreat off, although a lot of them have fallen asleep. And once they wake back up, then they will rout, because, falling asleep cancels the berserk status. But yeah, just kind of a demonstrate of, like, the power of mages. And even, like, right, it's just a bunch of garbage, wolves and bugs and undead, but in sufficient quantities. There are some elementals in here as well, so not all garbage. So yeah, that goes really well for for Machaca. It does cost them, right, gem-wise. That was a lot of nature gems that were spent, good amount of earth gems. So it wasn't free, right? It kind of looks free from the losses, but, it did cost gems. But... they knocked out 63 sacreds. Like, that's huge. These guys are cap only. They knocked out 61 of them, but, same difference. They got 557 kills, but, most of that, almost all of that was just summoned garbage. So, yeah, an interesting battle, definitely highlights how really powerful sacreds later in the game, less useful, still useful, but not as effective once more research comes online. And this is us trying to take out some Spine Devils, also like, hey, we got some mages, so surely Spine Devils will be fine. But we missed with the Magma Eruption, then we hit ourselves with the Magma Eruption. I think we do have, this is somewhat... matching motives 5. So he cast aim on himself, right? And this is like the weird thing, because you don't see the visual effect, but Perpetual Storm is still up. So every battle is fought under Storm. Huge precision debuff from Storm. So that is part of why we're missing. Although, of course, evocations can miss always. We at least get a Magma Eruption there that goes off. These guys don't actually have fire resistance or anything like that. Although I think Magma Eruption is actually not fire damage. And, the Lightning Bolts do okay. But yeah, the Helit Peltasts, they're not fantastic troops. They don't have the best morale. This does not work out for us. We get turned around by not that many Spine Devils. And I don't remember if this Lore Master, it looks like he does escape. That Helit Hoplite sacrifices himself unwillingly. So yeah, that's a little embarrassing. But yeah, I think had Storm not been up, we probably would have won. But it looks like Magma Eruption, like, not a fantastic spell against, especially a small number of units. So yeah, that's rough. And do we lose anybody in the retreat? No, so not the end of the world, but yeah, a little embarrassing. And then, yeah, I don't think this is just Kalem, bouncing Russ off. It might have actually just been a ping, I'm not sure, just a scout though. And then, yeah, I think this is our really heavily kitted group. Yeah, against, like, not much, just these fine ogres and everything. We don't need to watch this. They're gonna slaughter it. Yep. So that's cool. And then this is the assault. So yeah, we've seen this army, from Arcocephali before. Don't need to talk about it. And yeah, TNN has been busy inside their capital, so they've summoned a bunch of these not Feynman, Clockwork Horrors, who I don't actually really like, but it might just be what they were able to summon. They are really killy, definitely. I don't know about really killy, pretty killy. But they have this exhaustion, right? So you can see, like, they're already starting to fall asleep. And they just, like, and then they never wake back up. So yeah, I don't know. They don't seem to ever do that much for me anyway. But yeah, and he's got some Yetis as well, which is cool. Yetis aren't fantastic, but they got a chill aura and a lot of hit points. We know all about his sacreds, and he's got, a decent number of casters. I'm sure he's somewhat down to it. I'm still not really sure. He must still have, like, a research park somewhere, because his research is still really good. He's got some gnomes randomly in here. So yeah, I don't think... Whoa, who is this guy? A demon jester. I don't know how he got that. That's probably like a demon gate like event or something, because they certainly don't normally get that. And then there's probably, yeah, plenty of gems on these casters. So, like, yep, TNN has got a serious defense here. He's also cast, don't remember the name of the spell. It's like something flames. But anyway, you cast it in, I think it's a permanent, oh yeah, it's this guy, Vow for Flames. And yeah, okay, it looks like it's permanent. Nice. So you lose it if you lose the province. But yeah, so all enemies that pass through the flames, they get 10 AP fire damage. You don't see it come out a ton, because, it may not see any use, right? So it has to be like in a place that you're getting assaulted, but could be pretty effective. These guys are so fast. It's a bit unfortunate, I feel like, that he runs out. So that looks like, so you got Fog Warriors down. That's going to be nice. On the other side, Mass Protection? No, Serpent's Blessing. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Any Mass Protection? No. We have a Howl. Okay, we have a lot of stuff. So Solar Eclipse from TNN, and then Howl coming from Arcocephali, which is always good in sieges, I feel like. And then, of course, yeah, here come the rocks. And that is, yeah, Air Shield, the Mass Air Shield on TNN's side. Flaming Arrows on both sides. And then, yeah, the rocks coming down. Yeah, maybe TNN is looking to make sure the rocks fall among, you know, Arcocephali's units, and that's why he's, like, rushing out. But anytime you're outnumbered, when you rush outside of the fort walls, that's a bit rough. Plenty of Swarm, speaking of bugs, always a classic. You can see, like, the helms are super... Oh, no, excuse me. So this is Wrathful Skies coming up from TNN. Yeah, this is, you know, something I was worried about. And I don't think... Okay, nice. These guys do have shock resistance, 10 shock resistance, so that's going to help a lot. Mass Regeneration is also up from Arcocephali, and that is also going to help a decent amount. It'll definitely help his Wind Riders, because they can probably survive a Lightning Strike and then regenerate back up. Fire Elemental has been trapped, that's sad. Water Elemental as well, those are probably from bottles of water. And like, yeah, we can see, like, yeah, these Clockwork guys, super asleep, not sure, we'll see at the battle report if they've done anything. Probably a Doom coming out, I'm not sure what that was. Legions of Steel, Strength of Giants, all that, you know, good kind of buff stuff coming out. Not sure who all these Wind Riders are fighting. Should probably turn on, sorry about that, team colored squares, because who knows whose wolves these are. Yeah, what is this? This is, oh, okay, nice. This is like a little thug in here, a little mini thug. Probably leading units, because he's set up with a bunch of morale boosting items, but, you know, he's also gone in, and he has pretty good protection, right, with that mass protection, and, like, yeah, decent armor, and then, of course, you know, he's an elf, so he has pretty good skills. Unfortunately, he's been stunned, probably by lightning. You know, that's just the nature of it. I don't think TNN has, yeah, no resistances on their Bless, which is kind of unusual for elves. But, you know, he's really gone hard on, like, just helping his units in battle, right? And really good attack skill, defense skill, and then, of course, Blood Surge helps more. And then, you know, we know about the speed. So kind of more focused on, you know, improving their combat stats, which is definitely an effective way to go. But, you know, does kind of hurt in a situation like this, right? So he's taking plenty of damage from his own Wrathful Skies. Quagmire coming up from TNN. Let's see. So that's, you know, a bit of a fatigue play. And since he's on the defensive, that's kind of good. I don't think it's really going to help him too, because he's going to get hurt by that somewhat as well. And of course, the other downside of, like, rushing out like this is, you know, his enemy spends less time in the flames. The flames don't hurt friendly units, so, like, no worries there. Yep, the Slingers have routed, you know, they don't have good morale, so they don't love Wrathful Skies. And I think we might, yeah, some routing coming from the Windlords as well, which hurts. There's probably been a decent amount of mage losses. Like, when Wrathful Skies comes down, like, a lot of stuff dies. Not sure what that was. Thunderfend, nice. Coming out a little late, perhaps. I think that was on TNN's side. Yeah, and it's only 5, which is sad, you know. I'm sure, like, yeah, the descriptions on those is great. Highly resistant. False. But every little bit helps, definitely. 5 is much better than none, especially because, like, for, like, nearby strikes, I think you won't get stunned. I should look up. I'm not sure if the Wrathful Skies strikes count as, like, lightning strikes or, like, thunder strikes. Because the thunder has an AoE component, in which case that, you know, 5 shock resistance really helps. And yeah, you can see, like, they're spending a good amount of time. Of course, like, Perpetual Storm is active, as always, so these guys can't fly, which is a big deal, you know, when you're trying to assault. So now, you know, they just have to try to walk through, which is rough. I don't know. Did he take larger on his Bless? No, I don't think so. These guys are just kind of big anyway. These Wind Riders are just big, right? So they're 1 to a square, so, like, trying to fit through this gap really, really sucks for them. Some, like, Body Ethereal spam actually probably would have been really nice, you know, because when you're Ethereal, you just get to go right through the walls. You just get to go through the walls. So, like, you know, maybe having some Mystics spamming Body Ethereal, right, and some of the Wind Riders on, like, hold and attack rear, you know, and so they'll be Ethereal and go through the walls, and then, you know, you have less of this. They're definitely taking damage, but I think Mass Regeneration is really helping a lot. You can see that I think No, they don't have fire resistance. Yeah, it's not a ton of damage, right? That this Vow for Flames does. I hadn't seen it a whole lot, but I'm not super impressed by it. But I mean, a lot of that is, again, they do have the mass regeneration, but they don't even really seem to be taking a ton of damage from it. Like, let's see, yeah, Stellar Decree. Oh, I guess Mist Form, right? So yeah, maybe he got Fog Warriors up as well. Doesn't look like it, unless Fog Warriors has been popped. Okay, yeah, here you go. So 0 points of fire damage. That's probably from the flames. And then shock damage. Yeah, we know what that's from. And he's getting bitten by a dog. But like, yeah, it doesn't really seem to do that much. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't even see it popping up that often. So anyway, not super impressed by that spell. I don't think it's like super expensive to put up. And of course, like, TNN is just, throwing the kitchen sink in, so totally makes sense in this situation, but I don't think I would recommend it in general. Of course, TNN has taken a lot of losses. And, like, the wolves are active back here, right? Howl is really effective. It's one of the ways, to get around the walls. And a lot of, like, TNN's, casters, like, they don't really have, I mean, they have, looks like this was some bark skin, or maybe the mass bark skin, but they're a bit squishy, right? Like, they're elves, a lot of them. Well, they're all elves. But, like, these sorceresses, like, yeah, actually, wow, their skills are really good. So never mind. They're all elves, so they're a hassle to kill in that sense, but they don't have a ton of protection. Yeah, I gotta say, these Wind Riders definitely hanging out, longer than I expected. Some squads of them have routed, so clearly Arcocephali did split them out into different squads, which, yeah, I highly recommend. But yeah, I think they're, this is the god. What has he got going on? Protection 24, very nice. A little bit of earth, so he probably, cast like Iron Skin on himself. Plenty of magic resistance, so he can't be soul slayed. Quite a bit of shock resistance, so it's going to be hard, for the lightning to kill him, and he's lucky as well. So yeah, this guy's a bit of a hassle to take out, definitely. And of course, he has that cold aura, which kind of creates like this like pillow effect, right, for anybody that's close to him. Oh boy, and Falling Frost, I don't know. People talk about how the cold evocations, there's some falling fires. Those are both really powerful spells. But I feel like some of the water evocations, like, maybe don't get quite as much respect as they ought to. I mean, I think the main thing is they're not armor negating and they're not armor piercing, so like high protection can help you out. And probably a lot of those things that are dying are like wolves. So I don't know how many Wind Riders he's actually getting with those Falling Frost casts, but certainly it's an effective way to wipe out chaff. And like, now this is starting to look scary, because it's like, yeah, you might not get the kill. Now, I mean, granted, Arcocephali will be able to come back in, and I think you're gonna have no problem. Somebody does get the kill, so yeah, more or less works out for Arcocephali. Let's take a look. It's painful, definitely. 87 slingers, no big deal. 43 Wind Riders, like, that hurts. Roughly half of his Wind Riders. And they did a lot of the killing. The slingers didn't do too much. Maybe shouldn't have even brought him in. Hard to say. I mean, good siege chaff, definitely. Jade Maiden's actually doing a little better than I would have expected. Not too many of them. Windlord's actually doing like a good amount of work. I wonder, like, some of these guys might have been kitted, because that's quite a few kills. Like, yeah, these guys make decent thugs, definitely. The Oread's getting like a decent number of kills. He does lose 2 of the Oreads, and he loses 9 Mystics. This hurts, right? Anytime you lose 11 mages, but it's not the end of the world. And then, of course, like, yeah, Arcocephali loses everything. The sorceresses, right? This is Wrathful Skies, so one of them put up Wrathful Skies, and then I'm not sure what the Frostfather put up. Actually, he probably just from killing, he killed a lot of wolves. And then, yeah, otherwise, like, yeah, the Sacreds actually did really poorly in this engagement. In their defense, they were pretty outnumbered, although I do think this does highlight kind of one of the problems with elves, and possibly like one of the problems with this particular bless from TNN. Let me just make sure that I've got his bless right. Oh, right, he doesn't have to cast bless because he has his god with him. Yeah, no strength, right, on this bless. This guy's been weakened. Let's see if we can find one, yeah. So these guys actually have more strength than I would have expected. I always forget that elves have better strength than humans as well in Dominions. but it's still not fantastic, right? So against the heavy armor of the Wind Riders, right, I think this was a place where, they kind of struggled, and we can see that. And then the other thing that I would point out, right, Clockwork Horrors are 60 of them, and they got 3 kills. So, yeah, and again, like TNN was down to it. When you're under siege in your capital, you summon what you can. So not a critique here of this case. But it does demonstrate I don't really like Clockwork Horrors personally. And then of course unexpected events. Temple was desecrated, so we lose some gold. That's not cool. A lot of Dominion lost. Yeah, that one sucks. That's probably turmoil. And then of course, when you declare war on our people, more temples being desecrated. This also feels like, man, that's a lot of Dominion lost. Wow. Probably Demon Gate related, I feel like. And then we know about the calves. It's just all the normal stuff. We slaughter our population and the demons, continue to infiltrate this world. So let's see what we're up to. So nothing too crazy. More of the same, right? Continuing to move up. Oh, there's a site searcher. We're probably just patrolling here with our Helix. Oh yeah, right. This is the Helix group that got its butt kicked by the Spine Devils. Who are we sending against the Spine Devils now? Okay, we're bringing in the Polemarchs. Our less heavily kitted guys, although still pretty heavily kitted. But still just trying to, build up the armies that I talked about. We're forging a little more gear to make, corpse constructs more quickly. The recruitment is pretty similar. Let's see, E4 in the capital. Definitely money problems. I don't know. I go back and forth about trying to recruit up. I do feel like I maybe over-recruited Polemarchs early on. The other thing, too, is like Polemarchs are going to be a lot less effective because Calum is going to have a lot of air elementals. We saw how Polemarchs did against air elementals. I don't think it's impossible to use them against them, but it's probably, I'm not sure you can make it cost effective with the amount of kit that they would need. I don't know. Maybe there's some really good kit, but I haven't figured it out. Although some more Cyclopses would be nice because they're a lot less susceptible to being trampled. But anyway, it's not what I did there. And then, more of the same, troop recruitment wise. And then we're forging a crystal coin here, in our quest to climb up Astral. And then, let's see, there should be a Lamia Queen. Yeah, right here. So, Death 3 and one blood. This is a pretty good Lamia Queen, I would say. They can also be decently high in nature, which can be nice. And they can random into some water as well, which is less exciting usually, but you never know, maybe you need to get into water. Anyway, good mages casting a Bowl of Blood, so that's a blood remote site search at this province because there's high unrest, and I'm pretty sure there's no monster boar here. I think I have checked that now after this whole debacle. And then we're trying to patrol this down, speaking of, and then scouting wise, I think Russ having just lost that huge stack of sacreds, that's pretty rough. We can see that there's still quite a bit of fighting. So they're not out of it yet, but that's a huge loss to take, and I'm not sure if this is a full-on 2v1. I'm not really sure what the diplomatic situation is, but obviously they are fighting 2 people at least. We can see that Therados has moved in. TNN is still alive. I believe this is their last fort. So the ghosts are going to come away with that. Obviously, we know Therados is quite powerful. More evidence of that is Therados is over here as well. So I think at this point they are eating Abyssia, which I only heard about. I never really witnessed it. But the fact that their flag is this far inland and they have a presence over on this coast, we knew they were powerful, but just more evidence of that. And then also, I don't remember exactly when this happened. It was kind of unfortunate. Agartha, the player for Agartha, just disappeared and set themselves AI kind of without saying anything to anyone. Don't do that. That's really uncool. Because, they were actually still decently powerful. If we take a look at the score graphs, we can see their research was solid, right? So this is Agartha. So solid research, and their gem income was a bit lower. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can see that. So I don't know how big they were, but decently big. And they're busy fighting with Niflheim. And nobody really knows I mean, it's just one of those things that happens. But if you do have to bow out of a game for some reason, like just say that you have to bow out. Like it's fine. Like the host will find like a sub. Because once you set yourself AI, there's no way to reverse that. So around this time, Agartha goes AI, which does like unbalance the game a bit, but it isn't really like directly relevant to us. But it's just something to consider. So it was kind of looking like Agartha, was maybe gonna eat Niflheim, although hard to say because we hadn't really seen a lot of movement, at least in our border. But once they've gone AI, the AI does get a bunch of benefits. It depends somewhat. You can, when you host the game, you choose the difficulty that the AI is going to be if a human player sets themselves to be AI. So if you set that quite high, the AI does get a bunch of cheats, so they can throw a bunch of garbage at you. But especially like later in the game like this, where players have a good amount of research and have put together some nasty stacks, the computer just can't really compete with competent players. So it does tend to unbalance it. Don't do that. Don't just set yourself to AI and disappear. Not cool. If you have to bow out, that's okay. Just let everybody know, and we'll find a sub. So anyway, I think that covers it for turn 66. Wait, actually, I remembered research. Thaumaturgy 5, probably for Soulslay. I'm actually not 100% sure. There's not a ton for us here in Thaumaturgy 5, and we don't have great astral access, but at least like now, we're starting to forge like some booster items. We do have the lizard shamans, and like Soulslay is just a nice thing to have in your back pocket to deal with, super combatants or really heavy thugs, right? Like our really heavily kitted polo marks. Soulslay would be a great way to get rid of those guys. So it's just a nice thing to have. And there's plenty of other cool spells here. We just can't cast a lot of them. So anyway, we're going for Thaumaturgy 5, and then continuing the march to Alteration 9. 8 is actually arguably maybe better than 9 for us, because it'll get us Will of the Fates, which is going to be a big deal on our Heal It like human troops, and especially because we're expecting some Wrathful Skies plays against our armies. And, I've talked about that before. It's not a perfect counter, but it does help. Now that covers turn 66. All right, Mekone, turn 67. We finished our research in Thaumaturgy and working on Alteration, as we talked about. Bowl of Blood did find a site. Unfortunately, it's the Veil of Infinite Horror, which is not great. So we'll see the results of that later. And then, our polemarchs take out some Spine Devils, no problem. And Calum also clears out some Dryads, no problem, just with some troops and some Area Seraphs as well. And then, a bunch of unexpected events, see it always with the calves, and of course our slaughtering. Demons have manifested, and they're going to attack us. We don't have courts, because, we're horrible giants. People are disappearing. It's probably not demons. More slaughtering. Let's see, found a Dryad, which is actually really cool. I need to look this up, like why, right, because like, Calum just patrolled out a Dryad, but, we had a Nature Mage who, found the Dryad and then got nature magic from her. So this is really nice. We don't have like a ton of nature casters in general, so now we have a Nature 2 Shaman. Some people get cursed. That's fine. This is nice. This is a pretty good item and quite a few gems and a ton of gold, so thank you, luck. And then more luck, although I don't know how good this province is. And then, units worldwide get horror marked. So this is for everybody, so apologies to the game room. And then we get attacked in Marverni by more Spine Devils, which we do manage to turn around, although we do lose a little bit. We lose the Basilisk, which is probably a good thing on the balance. Those guys are so dangerous to ourselves. And then some patrolling, and then let's see what we're up to. So pretty much more of the same, right? Still like shuffling forward raiding groups of the Heal It Peltasts, and then building up our armies. Let's see, the more interesting things this turn, we have switched over to start to get more Elder Cyclopses, so that's going to be good. They're going to help us a lot. And then we are trying to mind hunt, and this is where there's probably a Bane Venom charm based on the messages we've been getting. This could be a waste of time and maybe gems. We have quite a bit of penetration gear, not full penetration gear, because even with his empowerment, he does need this astral booster, both astral boosters, to even be able to cast it. But I don't know. I hate him. So I'm gonna try to get rid of that Bane Venom Charm. This is like a decent province, not amazing. So it's kind of not the end of the world if a few people die like every turn. But we're gonna try to get rid of them. So yeah, doing that. Otherwise, like I said, more of the same. Forging gear. We'll kind of talk about all of it in more detail, like when we get closer to launching the war. Which, if I recall, it should. I think turn 70. I forget offhand, but it's still a few turns yet, because again, it's a very long non-aggression pact. So yeah, that was turn 67. All right, Mekone turn 68. Continuing with our Corpseman construction, searching for a few sites, and this is a great example. This is on a throne province, right? So this is a remote site search that makes a little more sense. But this is the kind of site, right? You find this with like a search, and I think we'd probably already searched at like level 1 or something. And it's like sometimes you find these sites, and this is a really good site. So we'll talk more about this later. But yeah, this is going to launch like 100 more remote site searches that are going to fail. It's just the nature of it. And our mind hunt succeeds. So that's cool, except turns out that I don't know, either there was another stealthy commander there was 2 Bane Venom Charms, so even though we killed we killed somebody, but still with the Bane Venom Charm, so probably just a waste of time. And then always Dire Portents, that's great. This one's rough. So Niflheim put up Illwinter, which is kind of a classic. I've never seen Illwinter before this game, so that's kind of cool in that sense. I think it allows him to recruit more of his giants, his sacred giants, which is cool. And then it also just turns the whole world really cold. And then I think there's random attacks in places where it's cold, and then there's just unrest everywhere, right? Because it's like one of the ways that the world can end in Dominions, one of the many, many ways. So this is not good. We at least have heat scales, so like we're a little bit defended, but we prefer it to be hot. We do a lot of fire magic, and it's not as good in cold scales. So this is not a good one. I don't remember. It might be a global that gets put up with blood slaves, and generally trying to dispel blood slave globals is a losing proposition because it's easier to get a hold of blood slaves. That said, we have a lot of astral pearls, and Niflheim is not like a great blood power just because their blood hunters are relatively expensive, and this particular Niflheim isn't like a massive player, so probably doesn't have like a huge bank of blood slaves, but I'm not sure it's something that I want to waste pearls dispelling yet. So we're going to kind of ride this one out a little bit and, see how bad it is, which could be a huge mistake. We'll see. But there are a few other factors at play, which we'll talk about later, maybe if I remember. but a few minor battles. This is just an attempted raid by Calum. Doesn't work out. Quite a bit of PD here in this province. So they turn around some birds, and this is somewhat interesting. So this is Pangea's capital, so it looks like this battle, it's an assault too, so it's winding down, and Ermor has kitted up King of the Flames, and this kind of looks like caster mode, right? Like no weapons. His default attack is pretty good. Like full resistances. I think he normally has obviously like a lot of fire resistance. He is indeed the King of Flames. And most like fire beings are poison resistant, and then he's given them cold resistance and shock resistance, and some magic resistance as well. Quite a bit of magic resistance. So, and then some fire gems. So I think he's going to be doing some fire casting, and he's up against some bog beasts, which can be kind of nasty because they have a poison cloud. Of course, our King of Flames, he doesn't really care about that. Like some centaur, some other random garbage. It is a little sad here because it looks like Pangea, didn't really bother like scripting. He is kind of poisoning his own troops. A lot of Pangea's stuff, actually maybe not, because like these guys don't have any poison resistance, and I don't think the centaur do either. Yeah, these guys are pretty fast, so he did take some damage, probably from a land strike. His protection is not great, and he has no regeneration either, so that's a little scary, but he does have a decent pool of hit points. So let's see, yeah, so he's casting Phoenix Power, Phoenix Pyre. Okay, so he's going to be immortal as long as his fatigue stays low, which it is. He has a limp. I don't know if he always had a limp. And then, yeah, Flame Eruption, that's just sort of a point-blank spell. It might not have been in his script. It might have been, because some guys got up close to him. And then, yeah, I'm not sure. Is he doing any other casting? I was kind of expecting Firestorm. Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's probably just in combat and isn't really likely to do, Flame Strike, right? That's his melee attack. So he's not likely to do a ton more casting. He doesn't have Combat Caster, I do not think. Yeah, no Combat Caster. A relatively rare tag. Kind of nice that our Polemarchs get that. Definitely helps in terms of that point-blank casting. But he is super scary, right? Although, ooh... Yeah, the low protection is really rough. A few bodyguards might have helped. Yeah, I mean, he is really, he's retreating. He's very protected against all the elemental types, but he's not just protected against people whacking him in the face. And of course, with his limp, he is nice and slow, but he does kill a lot, and then he makes it off the field. So hopefully, he doesn't die in the retreat. I imagine Urmor probably owns a lot of the surrounding provinces. So he kills most of what's in there, but yeah, kind of a dangerous use of elemental royalty. And it kind of works out for him, but yeah, a little scary. And then demons always, and then we get some assassins, which is nice, right? Quite a few assassins, and then hey, Cloud Mage joined us, and he's searching for the Singing Stones, which I'm pretty sure we already found, buddy. And then some gold. That's nice. Not a ton of gold. Gold mine is just being built in a place. That's very nice. And yeah, a bunch of gems. That's cool. And then we turn around the Spine Devils because we just happen to have some of our troops moving through, and we don't take too many losses. So that's nice. And let's see what we're up to. So yeah, I would say the main thing this turn is we are moving our Peltas Raiders into position, kind of all over the place, right? Anywhere that we have a border with Kalem. We are getting some Peltas groups in position. I think we're probably going to use the Foul Spawn to raid as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be turn 70 that, attacks can land. I'll have to double check that in the editing. Don't remember offhand. But probably, since we're, moving in position. This is a pretty obvious way of attacking, right? And it does leave us vulnerable, especially to magic phase interruptions, right? So he could drop, some air elemental summoners on them. But they're cheap enough groups that's kind of not, it's not the end of the world, right? It's I'd kind of make that trade. And then of course that opens up his raiders to our magic phase counterattacks. Because as Mekone, we do get some air twos, not a ton of them. But some of our Archons can cloud trapeze, and some of our Cyclopses can cloud trapeze. So anybody that, he magic phases out, we can then magic phase on top of. So, if we bait out his magic phases with Helit Peltas groups, that's okay. But, it's not going to be super stealthy or anything like that. But we're ending a 6-turn nap. There's no stealth here. so anyway. And then this is that Mirror Wall Palace. So it allows recruitment of these sorceresses. It also produces 3 air gems a turn, which is, both of these are really nice. So these sorceresses, they are old, right, and slow to recruit. Both downsides. But they're air 2, which is nice, right? Speaking of cloud trapeze, all these can cloud trapeze. And then Astral 2 is the highest recruitable Astral that we have. And they also have a chance to, they could be Astral 3. It's only a 20% chance that they get this at all. And the water ones, not as exciting. Death 1, actually, a Death would be nice. Air Death Cross Path. Yeah, these are just good mages. So anyway, this is what generates a lot of remote site searching, where you're come on, sorceresses. So anyway, yeah, that's that site. And the other thing I failed to mention last turn is somebody actually dispelled Sea of Ice, right? So Sea of Ice is gone, and Atlantis has moved in, right, and is continuing their war with Niflheim. That's another reason that, maybe we don't need to dispel Illwinter, right? Because we know that Atlantis is quite powerful. So, they may just be able to knock out Niflheim, and, we just won't need to worry about, Illwinter, fingers crossed. And then, otherwise, just moving up reinforcements. I think probably next turn, we'll take a look at the armies that, I'm planning on sending in, and talk a little bit, more detail about that. But yeah, I think that covers turn 68. All right, turn 69, using our Pretender in, questionable way, bringing in a Shadow Imp. They're just a very stealthy commander, like a scout. We might use them as a Bane Venom Charm carrier. We'll see. Still thinking about Machaka and the Bane Venom they sent against us that we need to return to them. But they're useful for other things. Even just carrying gems and etc. But yeah, it's maybe should be using our Lamia Queen for that. But our Lamia Queen is bringing in Pale Riders, long dead horsemen. So this is a pretty good use of death gems, I would say. And it's just going to help one of our stacks out. And then it looks like we might have missed a battle where TNN kicked Therados off of their last remaining fort, because it looks like Arcocephalia is now moving in to lock it down with a She-Lord. So, it looks like they were able to charm, or enslave mind, one of TNN's commanders, and now they have it in, true endgame, late game fashion. We can now declare a new prophet, and Therados has declared a new prophet. And then some interesting battles between Calum and Russ, at least mildly interesting. We are extra interested in this, obviously, since we are going to be fighting Calum soon. So it looks like some bodyguards on, okay, one of them is the normal, what do you call it? Yeah, the area seraphs, the air 2s that you see a lot. But yeah, he's also got one of these seraphines that are, fire mages. It looks like she's maybe using gems to boost herself, with Phoenix power, because she's normally just fire 1. And has a fire plate, kind of interesting. Also a flask of holy water. Yeah, I don't know if that's worth it. I guess maybe he's worried. Russ does have some astral, definitely. And then, fairly heavy thug squad. It looks like the double Frostbrand classic. This guy's got fear somehow. Oh, he's a hero. Okay. Yeah, okay, this is actually a pretty cool heroic trait. So yeah, it gives him fear. So yeah, that guy's decently scary, and Vine Shield, Frostbrand, pretty classic. He's got the shock resistance. This guy's also a hero, unequaled obesity, much less cool. But yeah, for the amount of investment here, I think that Russ is going to come away with this. Okay, yeah, a water, ice elemental, because it's cold, coming out, and then they're able to chop through, summoned a little bit of undead chaff, right, to give kind of extra targets, and then that's an HP route. He manages to get just one mage, so not the end of the world for Calum. Let's take a look at the casualties. Corpse constructs he doesn't really care about, and these are pretty cheap mages. You can recruit them anywhere, so not a big deal. But Russ does defends a province, which is nice. There's a battle in Yomi. So Russ is attacking Calum and Yomi with a Troll King, a thugged out Troll King. Interesting. So he is going with Snake Bladder Stick. I think we've seen this before, and he's got a ring, poison resistance ring. And then otherwise, just kind of some normal kitting. Earth Boots on the Troll King does make sense. He has a lot of Earth Gems. So maybe planning on doing kind of some big summoning. And then he's up against quite a lot, right? This is a small army, I would say. And then he's got kind of a thugged out Eagle King here. Again, probably defensive in nature since he's carrying all this gems and with an army. I think these are sacreds that he summons in for Astral Pearls, if I'm recalling correctly. They're pretty cool. Good skills, good protection. They have built-in awe, and then of course they're sacred, so they carry your bless. And I think, not sure if Calum has Spirit Sight on the bless. I don't think so. So these guys probably just have it. And they're storm flyers. Or they have storm immunity, which I think allows them to fly in storms. Yeah, Marble Warriors, nice. That makes sense. That's probably what some of that Earth Boots is for, right? So it's going to raise the protection of these Spire Horns. And a big old block of Spire Horns. Not fantastic, but they can be pretty nasty. Troll Kings are hard to kill, right? So he survives the Lance Charge, and being a troll, he regenerates. no poison resistance really on any of Calem's stuff. So the snake bladder stick could be really helpful. What did he use his air gems for, his earth gems for? So yeah, I don't know. None of this requires earth gems. So, maybe was planning on doing more later, right? This is like survivability and then summon earth power for maybe like some big spell. But I'm not really sure what that would be. So yeah, I'm not, I don't know. He's down to it probably, so maybe just figures, well, might as well give him the earth gems. I'm not doing anything else with him, but it does seem like maybe too many earth gems for this guy. But, like, I think this might work out for him. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, it's just ghost wolves. Like, the air casters just tend to, fall into these phantasmal wolves if you have that research. And so, yeah, I don't think these guys are in advanced and cast spells, which... it's hard to say, right? It's safer if you're not on advanced and cast spells. But, then you end up where it's just like, yeah, instead of moving forward and maybe casting something more useful, you're just going to get a lot of ghost wolves. And so, yeah, looks like it's the route, although some air elementals do come out. Yeah, and air elementals are incredibly dangerous. And so they just trampled down that Troll King. So that does not work out for Russ, although it was looking like, maybe he was going to come away with it. And like, yeah, Caleb doesn't really lose anything that, he can't replace. It wasn't super cheap. And of course, like the Spire Horns that survived, are now scattered around in various provinces, and some of them might have died in the retreat. But, for a Troll King, like 55 Earth Gems, plus he had gear. Definitely a worthwhile trade. And then there was another battle in Yomi, so this is probably a storm, I'm guessing, which is probably why the Troll King was coming out. But of course, like, yeah, this is the disadvantage. And it's kind of hard to avoid this, right? I mean, you have to accept that, you might have to fight 2 battles if you're storming, right? Because the fort defenders can always, like, partially sally. Not sure if Russ has... Yeah, he doesn't have anything in here anyway, so it doesn't matter. Just one fellow with an owl quill. Hey, buddy, it's time to defend the fort. Oh, wait, no, hold on. He's got a few guys. So he's got a few Chud Berserkers. Not his sacred, just like regular... Well, I guess they're not regular. They're Chuds or Chuds. They're not human. They're slightly better than human. But they're not sacred. They're not going to turn into bears or anything crazy like that. And they're not going to love air elementals either. So Caleb, yeah, definitely provided plenty of gems, right? Definitely enough gems for multiple battles. And, with that kitting, I don't think the Chuds would have been able to take him anyway. And he's got bodyguards. So, yeah. Caleb doing a good job protecting his valuable mages. And, he wasn't up against too much here in this assault, but yeah, he comes away with it. Those air elementals are just busy trying to squish a researcher, which they do manage to do. So yeah, this is starting to look like it's turning against Russ, and it's kind of unfortunate, again, that, our hands have been tied here for a while, but yeah, it's just the nature of it. Back when I signed the 6-turn non-aggression pact, I was busy, getting eaten by a TNN. Definitely the right call at the time. And then, yeah, luck helping us out. This is already a really valuable province, so now it's even extra valuable. Unfortunately, it's right on the edge of our territory, so hopefully we hold on to it. We find some astral pearls and some other gems. So yeah, let's see what we're up to. Turn 70 is indeed the turn that hostilities start, right? So hostile orders can be given this turn, so we should probably talk about the forces that we have assembled. So yeah, almost everything that we can hit on our border, we are hitting. This is all just, Peltast groups, right? About 20 Peltasts per group. Except where it's Felspawn, we just have it. And, okay, we also have a Spectre. He will, be trying to push deeper in, definitely. So he'll be pretty useful. You do want to vary it somewhat, but yeah, mostly like these cheap Peltast groups. And then unfortunately, yeah, we're moving some of our heavier like raiders down here. We weren't quite able to get them in position in time to, hit this. Caves are a little freaky, right? Because darkness. And so it's just a little concern that our Peltas won't be able to seal the deal, especially, again, these are all going to be relatively obvious attacks. Maybe less so from here because we're actually striking out from Hinnom, so it's kind of hard to tell. It's like, do we have raiders in position versus like, this is pretty obvious, this is pretty obvious, this is pretty obvious. So I am expecting a decent number of these attacks potentially to get canceled, by casters magic phasing in, because these groups are all going to be incredibly easy to knock out, with air elemental raiders or really almost anything. And they might run into some PD dumps as well. So, we'll see. Like I said, trying this like more, high pressure, low commitment style of attack, which I do think is where I want to be. I do think I flubbed this a little bit in terms of the follow-up, so I don't really have like a good logistical chain to keep these Peltast groups coming. So we probably won't have the long-term pressure that maybe I would have liked. But yeah, I think this style of attack is kind of much better than some of the other attacks that I've made before. And, looking to move more in this direction. Kind of talked a little bit about goals. I think the main thing we're going to want to do is take this fort first. So Calum has just a ridiculous, so much territory that just stretches out. I mean, I guess it's this cave system, which is like a little bit of a hassle to get into if you're not already in the cave system. But yeah, if we cut this off, I think he holds this province, although Kailasa might. But anyway, we only need to take a couple of provinces here, and it'll cut all of this off, from his fort, and he won't be able to draw income from it. And this is also, the most lightly defended fort, kind of the fort that's not closest to our territory, but just, obviously his capital is going to be difficult to take, right? He's got quite a bit in here. He's got an Ether Lord. We know we've seen those from Russ. And then, some of those sacreds, right? Those summon sacreds we talked about, plenty of Spire Horns, and of course Corpse Constructs. And, those are some Eagle Kings in here, right? No, but probably. So anyway, we're not going to be able to take Calum quickly, right? But this fort, I think we probably can take, or is going to be much easier to take. And I think, we're going to have to work our way up to taking Calum. So to that end, we're not actually striking out yet. The idea is to, raid ahead first, before we send the main stack. But the main stack is going to look roughly like this. So yeah, not massive, right? And trying to focus more on building groups kind of around the leadership values that your commanders have, and not making sure that we have enough stuff that's not crazy expensive elites, right? These guys are 32 gold a year each, so to fill out an army completely with Gigante Hoplites, that's pretty rough. So we've got 80 Hoplites here, 20 of them are Gigantes, which are going to provide a lot of killing. These guys, the human Hoplites, are going to have a good amount of staying power. Would like to have kind of more Helit Peltasts to just bulk out the numbers of this force somewhat, but we are using a ton of our Peltasts, obviously, right, as raiders, which I just talked about. So this army is a little light on the mass, and we probably are. Nope, we're not doing any recruitment here. That's sad. Probably should be doing some recruitment here, but of course, always money problems. But yeah, anyway, not quite enough mass in this army, not as much as I would like. And then we don't need to go through completely in terms of mage support. I don't even think, I haven't really set it up yet. But we are going to have some, our lifelong protection thug group is in here. We also have this random hero who also got the fear trait, which is really cool. So he's going to be a good in-army thug, helping to cause fear checks and everything, decently kitted out. So, we're going to have thugs built in. And then, do we have anybody set up? No, not really. But I'd say the main thing is, we're going to be using Lizard Shaman Communion, right, for mass protection. And the other big thing that we're going to have fairly soon, research. Yeah, so in 2 turns, we will have Alteration 8, right, which is going to give us Will of the Fates, and that's the other thing that our Lizard Shamans are going to be bringing to the table. Otherwise, we're going to mix in, Fire Evocations, of course, and then we'll be using our Earth Casters for the normal Earth buffs, but as well as to bring in the undead, magical Spartans that we can summon. So yeah, that's roughly what will be moving out, but I am also expecting to get raided fairly heavily by Calum. So to that end, we have some mages patrolling, right? So mass protection, which we talked about, right? That's patrolling right now. So this garrison is going to have mass protection, and same with the undead magic Spartans. We're going to dump out some of them. We probably have a bit of patrolling, on Hinnom as well. Less PD investment. Not expecting to get hit in Hinnom, but definitely within range of Cloud Trapeze. So yeah, pretty much patrolling more or less all of our forts. Yeah, because we're expecting, maybe not this one. Not too worried about this. No, we are patrolling, right, yeah. So our other little surprise here, so this fellow, right, this is going to be our Phoenix Pyre guy. And so, like, yeah, he's got 8 reinvigoration, right, from his items, and then he's going to be able to summon earth power, so he's going to be able to get up to 12 reinvigoration, which is pretty high. And then he's going to berserk, right, so that he won't rout, because I feel like a lot of times with Phoenix Pyre Thugs, when they die, that's not great on the morale. So I'm not actually sure if berserking carries over through death. But like you can berserk again, like it'll get re-triggered. So anyway, this is just going to help keep him on the battlefield. Vine Shield is survivable. The Spirit Helm is just going to help him kill guys, because I feel like a lot of times Phoenix Pyre Thugs also aren't like super killy. And like that's okay, we just kind of want to break up the attack, but it'll be nice to just hit him with lightning as well. And then of course we have some lightning resistance, because it's okay if the Phoenix Pyre Thug dies, but you don't want him to die too quickly. And so so he's got good amount of shock resistance, so that he doesn't get just completely zapped down super quick by lightning. And then he's also lucky, right? So that's just gonna make it that much harder, to kill him. So anyway, we have this guy patrolling and probably nobody else, because he doesn't really combine super well with other stuff. So yeah, kind of like various different things on our forts to make life difficult if he tries to lock those down. Probably should have like more random stuff floating around in my territory. We do have, right, we're starting to spread out some assassins. Like this assassin's just going to hang out, this assassin's just going to hang out. I do need to kit them, so yeah, they haven't been kitted yet, so that's kind of unfortunate. But the idea is if he cloud trapezes in a group, then we're going to assassinate the commander that brought either the air elementals or the birds in. And then we have a Cyclops here, and the Cyclopses are really kind of going to be our main focus. We do have a lot of polemarks set up, but probably not going to operate them as independently. I do think I am moving quite a few of them up. No, actually not yet. But like I said, the air elementals, it's super dangerous. The polemarks just do not do well against the air elementals. So if they're mixed in with the army, right, and the air elementals have other things to trample, then the polemarks can absolutely help us kill them. But on their own, they don't do so hot. However, Cyclopses do much better, right? So we have this Cyclops, and his job is a valuable province, so he's just going to hang out. There's luckily a lab here, right, from Luck, so he can research. We're not really losing too much, other than the fact that we can't use him offensively. But the other thing that we're trying to do is, because these guys are size 5, so they can still be trampled. It's not as effective, but, air elementals are still pretty dangerous for them. But with a nature gem, our lizard shamans can cast Enlarge on them, after which they will be size 6 and immune to trampling. And then, this guy's got 25 shock resistance, so he doesn't need to worry about the shock damage that the air elementals do. And this guy's basically immune, more or less, to air elementals. Now, the lizard shaman, on the other hand, not so immune to air elementals, and we don't have a ton of these guys to be spending, so this is kind of an expensive strategy, because the air elementals will probably kill the shaman. This guy's got a luck pendant, but it probably won't be enough. So we'll see. Obviously, it also costs us nature gems, but anyway, this group is hanging out expecting some air elemental raiders. Let's see, we also moved out, we've got a Draco Lion, right? So kind of the same thing we were doing against TNN. Some, poison damage here, so, some birds fly in. That should be unpleasant. And I think we have the same thing here. Yeah, here's just Draco Lion that I just dropped off. Have fun, kids. And then we are also moving up a bunch of Gigantes. This one I'm not so sure about. But, could have maybe used this as the core of another army. But instead, we are trying to hide them all. So we just randomly got this item, which makes the perceived army size, 25 units less than it actually is. So these guys should more or less be completely invisible, right? This just looks like a polo mark moving around. So I think this is enough guys to wipe out a relatively small air elemental raid. Because again, we have magic weapons. We are size 4. We don't do the worst against air elementals. So, if he's just expecting one or two polomarks, then the amount of air elementals he's going to commit is probably not going to be enough to kill 20 Gigantes. These guys are moving up. They're headed here, I think, right? No, they're not. Are they just hanging out? No, they're moving here to cover this province, which, like, yeah, sure, I guess. So we're just spreading some stuff out. Do we have anything else? I don't think so. We have some assassins up here, also ungeared. Like I said, we don't have full coverage in every province, but we have a lot of provinces covered. So we're gonna hopefully be relatively annoying to raid. So thank you to TNN for giving me, kind of a masterclass lesson in, counter raiding. Yeah, I think it's gonna pay dividends here because, like I said, the birds raid pretty well as well. So yeah, we'll see. Caleb doesn't have a ton of stuff, right? Like a decent amount of stuff, but of course, it is a major advantage, right? Like Russ is still like fighting back, even though, yeah, they took some losses this turn and overall are kind of losing. There's definitely like quite a bit of, Caleb's forces that are occupied up north. So, anytime you can take a 2v1, as long as it's in your favor, you be part of the 2, don't be the 1. That's going to help. So yeah, I think that more or less covers our war preparations, and fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. That was turn 69.